First intermediate period of Egypt, described as a dark period in ancient Egyptian history, spent approximately 125 years, circa from 2181 to 2055 BC, after the end of the Old Kingdom. It comprises the 7th, although this is mostly considered spurious by Egyptologists, 8th, 9th, 10th, and part of the 11th dynasties. The concept of first intermediate period was coined in 1926 by Egyptologists George Steindorf and Henry Frankfurt. Very little monumental evidence survives from this period, especially from the beginning of the era. The first intermediate period was a dynamic time in which rule of Egypt was roughly equally divided between two competing power bases. One of the bases was at Heracleopolis in Lower Egypt, a city just south of the Fayum region, and the other was at Thebes in Upper Egypt. It is believed that during that time, temples were pillaged and violated, artwork was vandalized, and the statues of kings were broken or destroyed as a result of the postulated political chaos. The two kingdoms would eventually come into conflict, which would lead to the conquest of the north by the Theban kings and the reunification of Egypt under a single ruler, Mentuhotep II, during the second part of the 11th dynasty. This even marked the beginning of the Middle Kingdom of Egypt. History and the events leading to the first intermediate period and the fall of the Old Kingdom is often described as a period of chaos and disorder by some literature in the first intermediate period, but mostly by the literature of successive eras of ancient Egyptian history. The causes that brought about the downfall of the Old Kingdom are numerous, but some are merely hypothetical. One reason that is often quoted is the extremely long reign of Pepi II, the last major pharaoh of the 6th dynasty. He ruled from his childhood until he was very elderly, possibly in his 90s, but the length of his reign is uncertain. He outlived many of his anticipated heirs, thereby creating problems with succession. Thus, the regime of the Old Kingdom disintegrated amidst this disorganization. Another major problem was the rise in power of the provincial nomarchs. Towards the end of the Old Kingdom, the positions of the nomarchs had become hereditary, so families often held onto the position of the power in their respective provinces. As these nomarchs grew increasingly powerful and influential, they became more independent from the king. They erected tombs in their own domains and often raised armies. The rise of these numerous nomarchs inevitably created conflicts between neighboring provinces, often resulting in intense rivalries and warfare between them. A third reason for the dissolution of centralized kingship that is mentioned was the low levels of the Nile inundation, which may have been caused by a drier climate, resulting in lower crop yields, bringing about famine across ancient Egypt. And there is, however, no consensus on this subject. According to Manning, there is no relationship with low Nile floods. State collapse was complicated but unrelated to Nile flooding history.